Yeah, this is a tough one to talk about. What's up, you guys? It's Jonathan Carter, and today we are going to be talking about Daredevil Born Again. Daredevil Born Again just had its finale episode of its first season last night over on Disney+. And for those of you that don't know, Daredevil Born Again had a really odd pre-production kind of story behind the show. So Marvel Studios originally greenlit Daredevil Born Again, and the creators of that show were not affiliated with the Netflix show, anything like that, and they were not going to consider the Netflix seasons, those 3 seasons of Daredevil that are pretty near perfect, to be canon to the show, which is kind of a crazy decision. Anyways, they went forward with this new version of Daredevil with Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio returning as Daredevil and Kingpin, but not related to the Netflix show. Like, that was just going to be like variants or something. Like, they were going to be a complete different thing. Foggy and Karen, Punisher, all of that were not returning from the original show. And 4 episodes into making this new version of Daredevil, Marvel Studios said, hold up, wait, pause. This kind of sucks. Like, this is not good. And so there hasn't been much light shed on what those 4 episodes were exactly, but all we know is that it was going to be much more focused on Matt Murdock. Like, he didn't even suit up as Daredevil until that 4th episode. And then it came out in articles recently that Jon Bernthal, who plays the Punisher, was offered the role, like, to come back in that version of Daredevil, and he declined because he did not like where they took the character or the show, which, I mean, just that in itself means, like, that was probably a pretty bad version of Daredevil. So, thank goodness, Marvel Studios came to their senses, scrapped that, and said, let's bring back the writers and stunt choreographers and all that from Netflix, and also the team from the Loki series, which is my second favorite Disney Plus series, MCU Disney Plus series, right behind WandaVision. And thank goodness they were like, we're going to bring the same versions of these people back. Like, Charlie Cox will be the same Daredevil, Wilson Fisk will be the same Kingpin. Vincent D'Onofrio will be the same Kingpin. We'll bring back Karen, we'll bring back Foggy, kind of. We'll bring back Bullseye, Vanessa, like, all of that from the Netflix series will carry over. But Marvel Studios also didn't want to scrap those 4 episodes that they made fully, so they made this new team of Daredevil Born Again writers, creative team, kind of stitch their version of this show with this old version of these 4 episodes that existed before these writers came on, the creative team came on board. So that's kind of a crazy production story for a TV show, let alone a character who is as loved as Daredevil, who has, like, such an avid fan base and a very loud fan base. Daredevil is my second favorite superhero, right behind Spider-Man. I have the Daredevil Born Again t-shirt that my fiance got me on right now, ready for this review. And all that being said, please be sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell, follow me on TikTok, Instagram, over on Spotify if you like podcast versions of reviews. And without further ado, let's jump into this review. So I should say I'm going to be covering the entire season of Daredevil Born Again with spoilers, so be noted of that. If you have not seen the show, go watch it, come back to this review. If you have seen the show, since it's a spoiler video, you can put all of your spoiler-filled comments, thoughts, all of that in the comments. Let's get into this. All right, so really just kind of cutting to it right off the bat, this is a pretty uneven show. Like, quality-wise, content-wise, narrative-wise, like, you name it, every department is very uneven. And that's no surprise because of this tumultuous version of the show, history of this show that I was talking about at the beginning of this video. So, because the creative team had to stitch together these 4 episodes of this 9-episode season of Daredevil Born Again, it feels incredibly uneven. So you have a really banger first episode where, unfortunately, spoilers, Foggy gets killed by Bullseye, played expertly by Wilson Bethel. He did not miss a beat returning as Bullseye. You get a really, really kick-ass fight scene between Daredevil and Bullseye, like, right at the jump of the first episode. You get the awesome one-take shot thing that, like, Daredevil was known for over on Netflix. You finally get Daredevil swinging on rooftops. You get, like, violent, gritty action between these two guys fighting each other. And then, after that fight, Daredevil, Matt Murdock, is grasping, dealing with the loss of his best friend. So he and Karen are now estranged. Karen is out in California. Daredevil, Matt Murdock, is still in Hell's Kitchen, obviously, because that's his part of the city. That is his city. You get new side characters kind of introduced to fill in the void of Karen and Foggy. And unfortunately, like 90% of these side characters they are shells of what Foggy and Karen are. Like Cherry, and then Kirsten, Matt's like legal law firm partner. They just don't have, it's not their fault, they just don't really have anything to do in this show. So once that first episode of Daredevil Born Again is out of the way, and by the end we've established that Matt Murdock is back, Kingpin are back, they have that fantastic talk dynamic that they had from the Netflix version of the show in the diner, like such a great scene throughout the entire season, like one of the best scenes.
I will admit, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again.
That's established by the end of by the end of episode 1 of Born Again. And then the rest of the episodes going all the way up from episode 2 to episode 7 are these very much mixed together, like stitched together versions of this show. So because the original run of Daredevil, the pre-production of Daredevil Born Again, like that original version they shot of the show, didn't have Matt in his costume until episode 4, they had to, in this version of Daredevil Born Again, have a reason to take Matt out of his of Daredevil, of being Daredevil, to not suit up, and that in this show is the death of Foggy. The only problem with that is season 3 kind of had this same plot line of not like the death of Foggy, but Matt struggling with, is he Daredevil? Like, I'm not going to wear the costume because that doesn't represent who I am, and he just wears like his origin, like black costume, which was great in that season, and it's like not terrible in Born Again, but we've already seen it. So that creates a really frustrating narrative to this show, because like Daredevil coming back after all these years of being canceled on Netflix, you just want to see him as Daredevil. Like, obviously Matt Murdock is a great character, and that is half of the, one side of this coin, but it's also, I mean, is it too big of a question, like too much to ask for Daredevil in a Daredevil show? I don't think that's crazy. So those episodes 2 through 7 really do feel incredibly uneven. Like, Matt Murdock Charlie Cox still plays this role like so incredibly well, and so does Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. They, like Bullseye, nobody misses a beat coming back here from the Netflix series. It's just the writing in these episodes of 2 through 7 feels so incredibly uneven and very anticlimactic. Like I said, a lot of these side characters introduced both on the side of Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk, who's now running for mayor in the show, cannot feel the void that is missing from the supportive cast in the Netflix version of this show. So episodes 2 through 7, you have Matt dealing with, am I Daredevil? Am I too violent? Blah, 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 blah. Like, that's not me. And then on the flip side of that, you have Wilson Fisk, who's running for mayor, who is also, after the events of the Echo TV show, trying to be a better person and leave his life of crime behind. In his absence during the Echo show, his wife Vanessa did become Queen Pin, essentially. She took over the business. In the beginning of Born Again, Wilson Fisk and Vanessa have this estranged marriage relationship. They're trying to figure it out as Wilson is fighting his identity and Kingpin and all that. He doesn't want to be a villain. He wants to be clean and run for mayor. And of course, both of those things, Kingpin not wanting to be Kingpin and Matt Murdock not wanting to be Daredevil, don't last, because those identities are part of them. That is half of them. That's who they are. And in these episodes, 2 through 7, it's not all bad. You get some fun, witty dialogue. Like, you get Matt Murdock being that kind of playboy, smart lawyer that he is. You get a developing relationship with this new villain character for Karen, essentially. She's fine. Unfortunately, the actress doesn't get much to do. And behind the scenes of all of this, there is the villain of Muse, who, if you don't know, creates murals in blood of his victims to kind of like tease the police officer, the police force and their political things of Daredevil, of Kingpin, corruption, things like that. And while that's a very interesting villain for a show like this, a gritty, more violent kind of feel to this show. You get that one really, really solid action scene with Daredevil coming back, Matt choosing to suit up as Daredevil against Muse in episode 6. Really, really great action that you could tell was revamped like from the Netflix. It's those stunt coordinators. But besides that scene and some kind of like interesting shots of Muse, he really is wasted in this show. He is introduced, like you see him as his secret identity in like episode 3, I believe, 2 or 3, and then in episode 6 you finally get Daredevil fighting him, and then in episode 7 he attacks Heather, Matt Murdock's love interest, who is a therapist. Daredevil shows up to save her in daylight in the therapist's office. The fight scene is not great there.
Oh my god, bro.
I think that was like pre-Hall stuff, like the old version of the show. And then Heather kills him. Heather kills Muse, and that's it. So you get 3 episodes with Muse. You barely get to know him. He's just kind of just like angsty teenager who's been let down by the system. And that's it. So the big bad that was advertised besides Wilson Fisk is killed off by episode 7. So that still leaves 2 episodes, episode 8 and 9, to kind of figure out like, what exactly are we going to do here with the show? And then, like I said, with episode 1 being like the best of the season, episode 8 and 9, you can really, it hones in on what the pre-production, pre-Hall version of Daredevil Born Again is done. Those episodes are through. There was that really fun bank one that I thought was really great, kind of like a little break in a, in the universe, in the TV season. It didn't like really push the story along, but it was just a fun little side quest that Matt went on, like when he's like dealing with bank robbers without his Daredevil costume. Anyways, by episode 8, that early first version of Daredevil Born Again, those episodes are done and complete. There are no more of them. So it's no longer a stitched together episode thing. It is the new direction of this show. The first episode and then episode 8 and 9 are full new creative team, their version of the show. And that's really where in these 3 episodes Daredevil Born Again really, really shines. The only problem with that, so episode 8 you have Bullseye come back, so he's gone from episodes 2 to 7. He comes back in 8. He's in prison after assassinating Foggy. Ends up escaping prison. All of that goes to hunt down and shoot Fisk, assassinate him at this mayor banquet thing of the city. Matt Murdock jumps in, saves Kingpin's life. And in that scene there, you figure out, it starts to peel back and give you the puzzle starts to fall into place, piece together, that Vanessa put the hit out on Foggy. But in that episode, you don't figure out why. So that episode 8 ends with Daredevil getting shot, Matt Murdock getting shot. And then into episode 9, at the beginning of episode 9, the finale of Daredevil Born Again, you figure out why Vanessa had Foggy killed. It's this whole thing with essentially Foggy, being a really great lawyer, was going to get in the way of Vanessa's kind of empire now that Wilson Fisk was gone. So she had him killed, and she hired Bullseye to do it, and then got him off so he would get out of prison. But then he was captured. Obviously, Daredevil thought that he killed him, and then he was captured by police. So episode 1 and 9 are easily like the best episodes of the season and the strongest. But what's really frustrating about it is the whole season, because like the creative team couldn't get their full control on this show, you are dealing with this issue of, is Matt Daredevil? Does he want to be Daredevil? And it's, like I said before, it's something we've seen in season 3, and it's also something really frustrating when a Daredevil show comes back after all these years. You don't get that much Daredevil. Like, call me crazy, I want to see Daredevil in a show. I don't want to go watch a Spider-Man movie and just see Tom Holland walking around New York. You know what I mean? Like, that is part of the character, Peter Parker, of course, but you also want to see a Spider-Man movie. And it's the same thing with Daredevil. Like, I want to see him in the suit, and you do get that by episode 9, but unfortunately Daredevil Born Again kind of does this thing where what a lot of shows have been doing lately, House of Dragon, both seasons, Stranger Things 4, where the story ends, where the season ends, is incredibly interesting, and it like sets you on the path for the next season, but everything leading up to that is nowhere near as interesting. So it makes for a really frustrating watch because you're like, dang, I really want to see what happens next in season 2 because this finale was so good. But why was the rest of the show not that good? And Daredevil is Born Again is a weird situation because you had to stitch together these two versions of the show, but that still makes for an incredibly uneven viewing and an incredibly frustrating viewing because you're like, you can taste that the show could be so good because there's hints of it in there. But then by the end of the episode or the season, you're just like, yes, this is what I wanted the show to be. I wanted to see Daredevil going up against these people, these corrupt cops that Kingpin has, finding him, hunting him down. You finally get, I didn't even mention in episode 4, you get to see John Bernthal come back as Frank Castle as a Punisher. You get a really, really fantastic scene between him and Matt.
You feel good about that? He got life! How about old Foggy? He got life.
And then episode 9, Frank is clean-shaven, comes back. Karen calls him to save Matt, like to help him fight these corrupt police task force that have taken on like the Punisher emblem, which I really love that Daredevil Born Again is doing that storyline because that's kind of happening modern day right now. That's very relevant of these like police officers, Blue Lives Matter, whatever, toting the Punisher logo that police officers like should not be doing. And in this season, throughout all of this, the Punisher, that's his villain. That's who he's fighting, are these corrupt police officers. He's trying to stand and clear his name, his emblem, that's not what he stands for. And so you get really great, again, like everybody else, John Bernthal does not miss a beat coming back here. You get really great scenes with the Punisher and Daredevil morally talking to each other and then fighting corrupt police officers. You get that like sick apartment scene, action shootout thing. And then at the end, Punisher goes over to Red Hook where Kingpin's kind of like island basically and confronts this corrupted police task force and then gets captured, which will lead obviously into season 2. You see that Fisk has captured all these vigilantes and billionaires and all that, put them in cages, and then the post-credit scene of the season, Punisher escapes. Duh. So that will probably lead into either his special presentation like Guardians of the Galaxy or Werewolf by Night. Punisher's getting one of those, or it'll lead into season 2. By the end of this season, Karen and Matt are back together, not like romantically, but Karen is back in New York. She is back in the show because she kind of had to be written out to fit those episodes. She's come back from California, and they have decided, Matt and Karen, to put together a team. Now, you think this might be like the Defenders or like Punisher coming back, and which he probably will, and it probably will be the Defenders, but you get this kind of like anticlimactic shot at the end of the season that it's just a couple of like good police officers and then like Cherry and Kirsten. But again, Daredevil forming a team and being Daredevil, like essentially just being Daredevil and having like Matt be a lawyer and then Daredevil be Daredevil and have the action scenes and things like that. Why is that not the show? Like, I have a lot of faith that season 2, with being the full creative team, like, their vision will be a lot better. We've already gotten some set leaks of season 2. I'm not going to talk about any of that here. But it's just really frustrating because this show could have been so amazing, and I really, really love the character of Daredevil and the Netflix run, but it's just, by the end of the day, it is really, really, really underwhelming as a show. Also, little side note, I know Spider-Man is like tied up with the Sony rights laws and everything like that, and they don't want to give up Spider-Man for like $1 bajillion or whatever that Marvel would offer them. But when New York goes into martial law, like when the mayor puts that in and you see these like looters and fires and police officers, like corrupt ones killing people in the streets and things like that, where's Spider-Man, bro? Like, where? I know Tom Holland can't appear and like, but it really does feel a little weird, like to not see like one thing of him swinging around or like mentioning him on the police scanner radio or something. So who knows? Maybe Spider-Man Brand New Day that comes out next summer will take place during like Daredevil season 2 and be a more grounded New York street level story, or maybe because it takes place between Doomsday and Secret Wars, it's going to be this multiversal thing. Who knows? Whatever. I would have liked to see. I just want a Spider-Man and Daredevil team up. Like, that's all. We got a little bit of that. We got a hint of it in No Way Home, but like, is that too much to ask for? Can Daredevil just show up in Brand New Day and like continue this story from Daredevil Born Again with Fisk being the big bad of Spider-Man 4? That sounds like a fantastic storyline right there. You get the Punisher, like all of that, phenomenal. Please, Marvel, Sony, please do that. Anyways, I digress about my little Spider-Man rant. So the verdict, at the end of the day, while I really, really wanted to love Daredevil Born Again, I can't recommend it as a show because it's really just not, it's not that strong. Like I was hoping to give Daredevil Born Again a 10 out of 10 just to be biased, or at least like a 9 out of 10, but I'm going to have to give Daredevil Born Again a 7 out of 10. So again, it's not terrible, like it's still good, but it can't be in the great category because it just, being honest, it just unfortunately isn't. So while that breaks my heart, as a reviewer, as a critic, I have to be honest. I can't be biased. It's fine. The show is fine. If you were on the fence about watching Daredevil Born Again, I wouldn't recommend it. If you have seen Daredevil Born Again, let me know all of your thoughts on the show in the comments. Rank the seasons. Like, did you like Born Again more than seasons 1, 2, and 3? Or for me, season 3 is the best. It'd probably go 3, 2, Born Again, and then season 1. Probably somewhere like that. Anyways, please be sure to like and subscribe, you guys. Check out my other videos right here. I'm currently running through the Mission Impossible series leading up to the new movie. I'll link that right here. Mission Impossible 2, that review just went up. And here's a playlist for the rest of the Mission Impossible movies. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, I will see you all on the next one. Let's try that again. And as always, I will see you all on the